Everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and Merry Christmas. Today is Sunday, December 25th of 2022. It is the last Sunday of this year, and this is always a good time to have a whole pile full of reflections. And I think this is something that we all do. We've been doing it for decades. If you've been alive for decades, it's just something I think that a lot of us do as we're getting ready to go into the new year. We feel this new hope, this new fire of motivation for many of us, and it's just a really nice time to reflect on the year that's just passed and the year that's coming up. And I think with all of the old traditions that we honor this time of year and all the modern traditions that we are making in our families and our lives, it's always a beautiful time to reflect and to remember our wins, remember the things that we're grateful for. And I just wrote down a list of some nice reflections that I wanted to share with you today to take you through and into this last week of December of 2022. So the full year is wrapping up, and there's been a lot of things happen. The world is still shifting exponentially. I don't think we're in a slow movement toward all the changes that are happening. More and more and more, there are people that are coming into their own. They're coming into an awakening. And if anything, there's a realization for many people, and I would have to say at this point, from what I see and what I feel, there's a majority that's happening of people who understand what is really important, what we need to do to move forward as humanity, and just bring love and light and consciousness into our everyday reality. In fact, one of the things that I was reflecting about this past week was how fun it is to sit with our families, and even sometimes just me and my husband, and watch our favorite Christmas movies. We have kind of a little list of movies that we love, and we will pull them out and watch them. In fact, one of my favorites is the movie Elf, which I'm sure many of you find that too to be just a family go-to favorite. One of my favorite parts of it, out throughout the whole movie, is just the childlike, beautiful joy and love and innocence that the main character, who's played by Will Ferrell, has. In fact, there's a moment when he meets his biological dad for the first time, and he says, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And if you look at this in what is the world that we live in, many people have a difficult time even saying those words to each other and to the people that you love. And sometimes you can show love by the actions. In fact, that's a very good way, is your actions represent the love that you feel and the care and tenderness you have for others. But when you're actually able to say those words, there's a whole opening that happens of the energy and the spirit that we are as connected souls and humans. So that's, to me, one of the favorite things. And then there's another movie too, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which is goofy and funny and all the things that could go wrong. But one of the things that I truly love about that movie, there's one line that the main character, who's played by Chevy Chase, his character, his wife in the movie, at one point, because there's so many relatives and so many people that are converging and showing up for the season and for Christmas, there's one sentence that she says that says, "There's always room for more." And I think that that is such a beautiful thing, because if you think about it, sometimes we have these images in our mind and these thoughts about how things should be, and when situations or people come into our life, into our traditions, something unexpected happens, we might not be the most graceful at finding a way to make sure that there's room, and there's always room for not just our family members and extended family members, but our friends and the people that we need to reach out to and just always have open arms. In fact, I've shared this with you before. I've been so blessed to have parents who always welcomed people into our home, even if they showed up at dinner time. There was always room at our table for one more person or two more people. Always. We never got the example of seeing someone turned away saying, hey, well, can you come back after dinner? Or can you come back tomorrow? There was always this sense of welcoming for our fellow humans, no matter what the situation was. And that was a huge, huge example that both my parents set simply by just living that truth. That they never sat down with us and said, if anybody ever shows up, this is how we're going to treat them. They just always lived by example. And my husband grew up the same way. And he grew up with parents who always had an open door. And over the years that my husband's parents were alive, anytime that I would show up with my husband, with our kids, and with an extra person in tow, of course we would always ask, hey, can we bring this person's here? Can we bring them too? Never, ever, ever was there not only a no, but it never felt like we were imposing. We always felt warmed and welcomed and surrounded by the joy that others give when the more the merrier. In fact, one of the sayings I have that we have as sisters, me and my sisters get together once a year, and we have a sisters weekend. And one of our favorite things that we like to say to each other, because we exchange gifts at this time, we don't exchange gifts typically at Christmas time, there's just too many of us. During our sisters weekend, we each bring a special gift for the other sisters. And one of the things that we like to say is more is more. More is good. More is, and I'm not talking about stuff. I'm talking about the inclusion of others in the celebration of love and hope and joy and just the experience of being alive and being a human. So those are some of the things that to me are just beautiful examples of not just going out into this season but beyond. And we always say that. So I've written down some thoughts that I just wanted to share with you as we wrap up this year. And I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet since I know today is Christmas. And I know this is a day that we spend celebrating, we spend disconnected from our technology, hopefully. And maybe you're watching this another time, which is awesome. So some of the things, the first thing I wrote down here is, to me, super important. Is finding the courage to find peace and joy between no longer and not yet. Okay, so think about that. First of all, courage. Courage is very necessary in this world that we live in. Second, think about where we are. We are in a between place. We are in a huge flux, a huge movement of energy and transition and enlightening and a rise in consciousness of human beings. So between the no longer, what was no longer, all the hoping that we'd go back to normal and that things would go back to the way they were, and that's no longer. We all, I think at this point where we're almost 3 years since the world shifted on a global scale, we know that the way that the world was is no longer going to be. But where we find courage is while we're waiting for what is not yet. We are on our way to a beautiful, peaceful, incredible time for humanity. Something that I think that we've been waiting for a long, long, long time, because we want peace. There are powers that be, and there are humans that don't want peace. That's not what they want. But I think that the majority, the huge, huge, vast majority of human beings want peace and love and abundance, and we know that that's available for all of us. So there is a courage that's needed as we are in this in-between time. So when this season begins, really what this is the season should never end. We should always spend our days and spend our moments always in this spirit of forgiveness and spirit of happiness and hope and joy and just unconditional love. So to me, when the season When the season is over, that's when it really begins. So think about that. When this week is over and we're into the new year in a week, this is when it begins. This is when the season begins. And I hope that we can carry that into this new year, which I feel is just going to be a continuation of an up-leveling of humanity, human beings, and an awakening into this amazing time that we're going into. And I do believe that we are able to find that now. We do not have to wait until the powers that be or someone else makes it better. This is not a time to put your head in the sand. This is not a time to let other people do the work. This is a time for each of us to step in and do our part. Okay, so the second thing I wrote down here is become a child again. Now, I'm so blessed that I am reminded of this as I spend time with my grandchildren. I have two, they're 9 and 11, and we spent a good chunk of yesterday with them, just, doing the things that grandparents do, preparing for a family meal. The kids got to come over early and spend the whole afternoon with us, and then the adults came over. Both my sons, their wife and fiance, both came over. So we all had a beautiful Christmas dinner, and we spent the evening playing games. And if you watch the pure joy and just the pure innocence and beauty of a child, I sank into the couch with both my grandkids sitting on either side of me, and we watched a movie together. And I'm blessed to have a husband who loves to cook, and he's good at it. And he was cooking while we were enjoying a movie. And we were all in the same room because it was one big room. But it just reminded me of going into that place where we get to see the world as kids see it. Excuse me. Okay, so here's the next piece. Christmas is love in action. I mean, everybody seems to be brighter and happier because of the season. And it's because we can feel the collective energy. Every time we love, every time we give, it's Christmas. So next month, in February, in the middle of the summer, whenever that is, every time we love and every time we give, it's Christmas. Every single time. And this is something that is really important and pivotal to think about as you walk through your life and as you walk through your world. So I found this totally beautiful quote from this woman, and I'm actually not sure if it's a woman. His name is Taylor Caldwell. And the thought behind this quote is that we are never truly alone. So here's her quote. "I am not alone at all. I thought I was never alone at all." And that, of course, is the message of Christmas. We are never alone. Not when the night is the darkest, the wind the coldest, the world seemingly most indifferent. For this is still the time that God chooses. And I think that is such a beautiful quote, because I think that while many of us are alone at this time of year, and we might not have all of the things, the people that what seems everyone else around us has, to me this is a reminder that we are not alone. We are never alone. We are part of the greater collective of God. We are part of God. We are part of this beautiful humanity. And sometimes this can take some deep reflection and taking the things that numb us from that reality out. Take away the excessive drinking of things like alcohol. Take away the excessive eating. Even overeating numbs us to that pure piece of ourselves. In fact, if you've ever done any fasting, especially water fasting for even a short length of time, you know that your mind and your body feels different. You think differently. You are more centered. You are more peaceful. You're more calm. So when you're numbing yourself out with these external things, including too much excessive food and drink, and even if it's not alcohol, but too much, we numb that piece of ourself that is spiritual. And if anything, I would encourage you to start doing some first intermittent fasting, then doing some juice fasting, then doing some fasting that includes, only water. And this is something that can't be done lightly. And I bring this up at a time like this, a Christmas time, because this is a time of overindulging, and it tends to numb us out to that spiritual side of us. And I'm not talking about a religious side. I'm talking about our spirit. What makes us us? What makes us who we are? And that is our soul, our spirit, our beautiful, brilliant consciousness. And if you think about what you feel when it's this time of year, and the energy is hopeful and full of love, it's because people are feeling joy and connection as a whole. And there are pockets of people who aren't feeling that way. I understand that. But as a whole, you feel that because that is what people are putting out. In fact, one of my favorite little scenes in that movie Elf is at the end when Santa's sleigh lands in Central Park and he's not able to get it going because there's not enough Christmas cheer. So the people start singing Christmas carols, and it raises Christmas cheer. And so the connection there is that when even one person makes a difference and raises their energy and raises the love they put out to the world, raises the joy by little things, even a smile at a stranger, opening a door when someone's coming out, giving them a smile and a greeting, that alone raises the energy and the vibration of the people in the area and even of the planet. Think about quantum entanglement. When you say, I love you, when you smile and give someone a greeting of just pure connection to your fellow humans, it reaches energetically to a star at a far place in the universe. We are all connected. That's why we're feeling what we feel right now in this planet. There's so many shifts happening and we feel it, right? Okay, so here's another quote. I love this quote from Mother Teresa. It is Christmas every time you let God love others through you. Yes, it is Christmas every time you smile at your brother and offer him your hand. That is such a beautiful, true statement. So I want to read that again. It is Christmas every time you let God love others through you. Yes, it is Christmas every time you smile at your brother and offer him your hand. Truly beautiful. Christmas is truly Christmas when we celebrate it by giving the light of love to those who need it most. We have so much to give to our fellow humans, and it doesn't have to be full of so much suffering. It doesn't have to be that way, and we can each take our part, our piece, our responsibility for what we put out into the world. So another great quote is from Bob Hope, who, if you're of a younger generation, you might not know who this person is. He's been gone for a long time. He was a very famous actor, singer, and he did a lot of beautiful Christmas songs, but he was one of those people who put out some very beautiful quotes in the world. And here's one of my favorite Christmas quotes from Bob Hope. My idea of Christmas, whether old-fashioned or modern, is simple: loving others. Come to think of it, why do we have to wait for Christmas to do that? So this is a gift we can take with us into 2023, is the gift of loving others, and unconditional. So I'm going to end this with four simple thoughts. Rediscover the thrill of hope. So think about these last 3 years and how there's been a sense of maybe hopelessness, why don't others wake up, frustration. You see the things the government does, you see the things that the economy's doing, you see this big flux that we're in. And think about what happens when you talk to somebody, you watch a little video, you read something that fills you with the thrill of hope. And it gives you a reason to go on, because a lot of us have experienced, what's the point? And why do there's no point. And we all go through those moments that seem very, very dark. So rediscover the thrill of hope and seek out those things that give you hope and rekindle that in you. So reflect on the very things that make this season sacred. We need hope more than ever, especially when things around us look weary. So look for the things that cause you hope. Seek them out. Second, defiant joy. Be defiant in the joy you find in this world. Be the outlier. Always find the joy. Always. If someone says something that's negative, and maybe that's the way that they operate. Maybe they're always used to complaining. I know people like that, who things might be good, but they always find something that's wrong with it. Something that's wrong with the situation. Something that was wrong with something that was given to them even. Something that's wrong with a meal that was set down in front of them. Like, I know people who, no matter what the situation or what it is that they have or don't have, there's always something to complain about. So be defiant in the joy that you find and the joy that you spread. And what I always do in that situation, when I'm around these two particular people that I have in my mind that I'm thinking about, is I always will say and point out something about that situation that maybe I'm experiencing with them that is positive. And I'm happy about it. And I don't try to make them feel bad or tell them to stop complaining, because they don't need me to say that. But if I put my positive, defiant joy spin on it, it makes it very difficult for them to keep complaining especially about something that instead of looking at the silver lining and looking at the beauty of what they have, there's always something a little bit wrong with it. Reflect on perfect peace. Oh, peace. You might ask yourself, is it possible? Is it possible? Like, we look at the world, we look at the wars that go on, the proxy wars, the things that humans do to each other, and we ask ourselves over and over, is it possible? So what I say is yes. And here's this beautiful scripture from John. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. We are these beautiful beings of love and light, and we forget because we live on a very dense planet, and we live on a planet that's been swirling with uncertainty and anything less than peace, and we get to find peace. And I know that many of you that are watching this are doing that, and that this is the way that you walk through life. You see love, you put out love. You see joy, you put out joy. You see hope and happiness everywhere, and you put that out too. And then the final thing on this little list is love. And to me, it's a really beautiful thing to reflect on the power of just pure, perfect love. And it's easy to say this, and it becomes extremely easy when you start to practice it. Look at everything through the lens of love. And when we were growing up, my mom used to say to us all the time, what would Jesus do? Always. That was, if we had a decision, if we were upset about something, if we were in trouble about something, whatever the situation was, on a regular basis, my mom would always ask us that. And that what happens when you grow up is the things and the mannerisms and the different things that you get from your parents, especially when they're over and over and over, they stick with you and they become part of you. So if this is not something that you got, and it doesn't have to be that exact same, that might not resonate with you. That might resonate fully with you, but it doesn't matter what that is. Think about perfect love and unconditional love and what that means. So to end this, I'm going to just just tell you about, so Dr. David Hawkins is one of my favorite authors. He wrote a book called Power versus Force. And basically what he developed is a scale of consciousness. And as a collective, I believe it was, I think it was somewhere I think it was in 1980. I would need to go back to get an exact perfect reference on this. But the collective consciousness of the entire globe of humanity, for the first time since it's been able to be measured above 200 or at 200. Now what I mean by that is on a scale of 0 to 1,000, he created this beautiful scale of consciousness. And there are low frequencies like shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, anger, and pride that all live under the vibrational energy of consciousness. They all live under 200 on this scale that he created. And where this shifts into the other higher levels of consciousness is courage. So the level of 200, when you get to the point where you have courage, and you have the courage to step outside of what might be normal, as far as smiling at someone and holding a door for someone, and someone drops a package, you pick it up, or you just push out unconditional love to your fellow humans and you walk through your days with joy, you have the courage to say, no, that doesn't work for me, even if everyone else is doing it. When you reach the point of courage, you have released all those lower energies. In fact, what I found interesting about this scale when I first read about it is that fear actually is at 100. That's a pretty low vibration, and a lot of people have been living in fear, and they have lived in fear maybe their whole life. They're afraid of what might happen, what could happen, and they've sucked into the programming of our media and all of the technologies that bring information to us. It's super, super easy to live in those low vibrational frequencies because we're being programmed. We're being programmed for that. So shame, guilt, apathy, and grief all live under 100. Those are lower than fear. And fear is extremely paralyzing and low. So think about that. Guilt, 30. That resonates at a low, low, low consciousness of 30. Grief is devastating, especially if you lose someone close to you. Devastating is the easiest way to say something about grief, because grief can cover a whole bunch of things. Some of you might be still grieving about the loss of the way things were before the 1st of 2020. And I will tell you, I went through my own grief of the things that I felt like I had lost during, most of 2020. And then I started to realize all of the things and the beautiful things that were changing, and all of the things I gained, all of the spiritual growth I had, all of the amazing epiphanies and reflections that I was able to have during this past couple of years now, which, I never dreamed that all of this would be, that things would be where they are now. But that's the whole beauty of being a human being, is we don't know. We don't know what life brings. And I think that's what keeps us paralyzed, is because we're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of what might happen. And when we accept input from places like mainstream news and these other places, when we accept that input as our reality, we are buying into the fear that we don't have the power to take care of ourselves financially. We don't have the power to control our own health. We don't have the power to control our relationships. And someone else needs to take care of us. And someone else needs to do that hard thing. Someone else needs to be brave and have courage. But can you imagine the shift that would happen if humanity realized its own potential and its own power? It would be a different world overnight. It's like what happened when we all got locked down in March of 2020. What that showed me is that collectively as humanity, we have the power to make changes on a massive scale. So instead of locking down in fear, what if collectively, we raised our vibration and we raised the potential and the power of love, joy, hope, and peace that we all know is possible, it would be a different world overnight. And I think that that's one of the things that we need to remember as we go into this last week of 2022 and as we move into this beautiful new year of 2023 and all of the things that we see happening and that we know we can participate in. To me, that's the most exciting thing. So I want to finish with this. So on this beautiful scale of consciousness, right above courage, and this surprised me when I first learned this, is neutrality. And this to me is what I've talked about before, living in the Tao, where you take all of the things that you see that seem bad, you take all of the things that you see that seem good, and you live in this place of not really non-reaction, but in a way, you don't get pulsed by things and other people that come at you with negativeness, or you get to live in this neutrality. So neutrality is even higher of a space to live in consciously than courage, which is amazing. Because if you have neutrality, you already have courage. You already have bravery. And I love that. Right above neutrality is willingness, and then acceptance. So think about that, okay? Acceptance doesn't mean that you have to put up with things that are bad. But you look at the way things are, you look at the way people are, you look at situations, and you have acceptance. You don't try to barge in, make things different. You simply get to lead by example. You get to have the consciousness shift, the spiritual shift, the reflection, everything that you know and do, the love you spread, and you get to be the change, and you get to just live in acceptance in how other people choose to walk through this life. Think about how highly vibrational you will be if you live in willingness and acceptance. Okay, because then once you get past acceptance, then you move into a place of reason. Then you move to love. And I always was surprised when I first saw this that love was not the highest. Love is high. Love resonates at 500. This is out of a scale from 0 to 1,000. So think about people that, like Mother Teresa was probably a person who vibrated at the consciousness level of love, just unconditional love. And even that, even if you reached 500 in this lifetime, the energy, emotion, the beauty that you would put out to the world would be undescribable and unimaginable. Right up above love is joy. Above that is peace. And then the final level is enlightenment. You know what I will tell you? That is where I strive. I strive for that every day. I don't even know if I'm at the level of pure love. I work on that. I make that a part of my mantra. I have gotten to a point over the last probably 10 years where I collect little things that say love on them. And I have above my computer here a little shelf, and I have the letters love on there. And I have that sitting around, which basically, like, words have power. And I think that the little things that we can do to raise our vibrational energy might be as simple as having little reminders. I even have love tattooed on my wrist, because to me, this is a beautiful goal. And if I can get into a place, and we collectively can start moving into a place of pure unconditional love, then you know what happens? The world shifts. It shifts automatically. So I think I'm just going to leave it right there. I hope for you a beautiful Christmas day, with whatever that looks like. If you're in a place where you're by yourself, I hope that you can go into a place of deep reflection and go walk in nature, even if you're in a cold place where there's maybe a lot of snow, wherever you are, that you go out and you experience a little bit of nature. You realize that you are a piece of God. You are this beautiful, beautiful, energetic, spiritual being, and you are pure love. And the world is shifting big and fast, and every single person who recognizes what they have to put out into the world and make a difference, no matter how small you think your piece is, every piece makes a difference. Every single piece. So I love you guys. I suggest that you use that love word as much as you can. It's a beautiful way to walk through life because it's pure. It comes from the heart. If other people don't respond in a way that you think they should, it's okay. Your message was still delivered, and your energy and your frequency that was delivered with that is still going to be impactful. So thanks for watching, guys. If you got to the end of this, oh my goodness, how did I do 36 minutes? Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is beautiful, and we will see you on the first of the year. Take care and have a beautiful day.